Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host. My co-host today, you've seen him before, Bob Williams. You know, Big Bob has been around here forever. And as you know, we're getting ready in the new form of government. This will be the first show towards that. We're going to be interviewing candidates. We're going to be talking about issues and that they should be concerned with, especially from the standpoint of communicating this to the voting public, the community. Right. Very, very, very important. So we're going to do everything we can to basically get some background on these individuals, because we want to make sure that those folks who are filling those seats have the background necessary to do the things we want to do. And we're right into that point of getting Portland back into the City of Roses.
Yes.
And so we thought maybe we'd start off with and in fact, every race we're going to go in and look at the experience of all the folks and see whether or not their resumes are there. And we will select a person as an entree to come and talk about their background and issue, because they've got some background. And then with that, we'll try to bring in the other folks, candidates, newbies, if you will. But again, background. This is not the time for OJT. And I'm sharing this, and I'm not trying to be nice. Hey, we respect the fact that a person is running for office and they file, no problem, but we don't need the OJT. In fact, to a certain degree, we kind of got in this mess that we're in because Wheeler basically went through that same problem. Yeah. He OJT'd. You know, and when he did that piece, he didn't have any background, and so to a certain degree. But now he's kind of getting to the point where he's out. So here we are left, and so it's very, very important to try to bring folks on that can communicate that to the electorate and also those folks who are running for office. Okay, so guess what? We picked one person who has had some very major experience, if you will. I can still remember when I met her when I was in the Marine Corps. She was working for Senator Ron Wyden.
Yeah.
In fact, Ron and I sort of got together when he was running for representative. So the bottom line, he's a seasoned politician aspect of it. And I'm talking about Loretta Smith here now. And she's got that background. She's got the D.C. background. And she was working at that. And so my point is that she's also been at the county for 8 years, the county. And, you know, they've got quite a budget there. So she was handling a lot of those federal funds that were coming into the metropolitan Portland area. She was there present at District Number 2, which is the largest district within the county, if you will. And so that's a very important piece. And during that particular time, she spent quite a bit of time for the youth, which is very, 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 very important, because that's kind of like one of the issues that we have here within our arena. And she's running in District Number 1, which is good. And so consequently, she's going to be able to share with us, well, be not necessarily share with us about her background per se, but kind of throw out in terms of some of the things that she feels are the kinds of things that we need to be focusing on as it relates to this new form of government that we have. It's very important because, trust me, we're going to probably have about 120, 130 people running for all of these various positions. And that's an encyclopedia of people. That's why we're doing the format we're doing. We want to educate those individuals who file, who don't have the background, and naturally from the taxpayer standpoint, we're picking up the tab for that donor situation, and that's quite a bit of money. So we're not interested in folks who are interested in the money piece. We're interested in what their background and what do they bring to the table to solve our problems that we have in the city. So that's why we got Loretta here today, and we're going to spend some time with her today, and hopefully we can get her to come back, if you will, further on in the campaign, just in case we need to educate more, because I don't know, there's no way in the world we're going to be able to get 100 and some people here on the show. So that's why we're going to pick the people in each of the areas. Right. So that's where we're going to be going. Loretta, welcome. Bob's already here. And
Thank you.
So what we're going to do, we're going to give you the opportunity to talk.
Yes.
And then after that, Bob's going to ask a few questions. I'm just here as a facilitator to a certain degree. And if he slows down, I'll come in and do my thing.
Right.
But no problem. Welcome.
No, I really appreciate you inviting me to come here today. It is an amazing week. This is our certification week.
Yes, it is.
And I certified to be on the ballot on Tuesday. In addition to that, on the same day, I also certified for the small donor program, which at the first level, they give you $40,000 if you can get 250 contributions. So I went through that whole thing. I turned in over 300 contributions. Had a little extra just in case they weren't from the city of Portland.
That's right.
And so I'm really excited about it because I jumped in this race about a month ago or so. And as I looked at the field and looked at who was running, with the understanding that this is going to be the first, it's a groundbreaking new government.
Yes.
And I looked and I said, you know, I think we need to have folks who have my kind of experience, and we need new voices as well. And I think we need a good mix. I didn't see that. And so that's why I got in late, because I started not to run, and I was like, this will be good, and they can get this together. But I think that with my background and track record and my excitement about Portland, I have not given up on Portland yet. And the fact that I have 3 grandkids here, and my son and his wife, I want this to be a city that they can all live and not just survive in, that they can thrive in. And I want them to have a safe city that they can live in. And I can't just sit back, you know, on the sidelines and talk about what I want. I think now is the time for me to get into it. As you know, this is my 3rd time.
That's right.
And I guess I hope the 3rd time will be a charm.
No, we need you. Trust me, the city, we need that background that you have.
And, you know, I do have a background in a history of balancing a multi-billion-dollar budget at the county, a multi-trillion-dollar budget at the federal level when I worked for Senator Wyden, and I did appropriations for him. So I understand how money flows. I understand how policies go. I've passed over 100 resolutions and amendments in my 8 years as a county commissioner. And in that role, I've had to do collective bargaining contracts, and I know what that looks like. I know how to do it, and I assume when you said OJT, it wasn't orange juice and tomato juice. It was on the job training.
On the job training.
Okay.
It's a military term, Bob.
I wanted to make sure that that's what you were talking about. I was like, what is he talking about? But
see, you knew.
We do need to have folks who have experience. And I think it's important, it's critical. I think that representation matters. We need to make sure that we have women, people of color, people who have different backgrounds in different areas, whether it be in corporate America, to bring their expertise into what we do. But we also need people who care about public safety. I live in the Wilkes district. The Wilkes district is a very interesting district that's couched in between Park Rose and Gresham. And we woke up a couple months ago and there was a dead body on the street. So people in my neighborhood, in our little HOA area, we're concerned. We're concerned about public safety. We're concerned about the unsanctioned homelessness that's happening. We're concerned about the unsanctioned RV parking along Sandy Boulevard. And there's this myth out here that everybody that's homeless, they need to go into a drug and alcohol rehab facility. That's not necessarily the case. When we looked at the data, Chicago University did a study on folks who are homeless. 50% of the people who are homeless had a job that are in our shelters, had a job prior to coming there. 43% of the unsheltered folks on the street had a job before they became unsheltered. So that, if we kind of put that in the middle, it's about 50% of the people were working before they became, houseless. So why not also add some language that would suggest that they need some job training, that we need to put them in apprenticeship programs, that we also need to be doing that with our dollars. Like I know, we got some of the biggest major infrastructure projects in line right now. The Interstate Bridge Project, that is a $9 billion project. It's going to require 22,000 people. Right now, Work Systems, they did a report, and that report suggested that we would need 22,000 people in the different trades. We don't have them ready, trained, skilled, and ready to go right now. So we have to train them. We have the infrastructure bill that President Biden Harris passed. All these projects are in play in the state of Oregon as well. We don't have enough trained, skilled people to put people in those jobs that are from Oregon. They're going to have to transplant folks from other places. So as leaders, as city leaders, we need to think, how can we incorporate some of those folks who are houseless or who are actually working, who live in shelters? They just can't afford the housing. There's a pay equity issue that we also have going on. And we have to balance these thoughts out with, job training, workforce. How do we marry workforce and homelessness and make sure that we have enough affordable housing in the queue to make sure that all of us are living in a space and in a place that we used to live in. I mean, I remember coming here, visiting my dad and my grandparents when I was younger, and it was so beautiful. I mean, Portland is just drop dead gorgeous. And right now that time has gone away. And what my grandkids think about downtown Portland is, it's scary for them, because what they saw was protesters. What they saw was a lot of riot gear downtown, and that's what they remember about downtown Portland. So I want all of our families to be able to live, work, and play in downtown Portland, because we have to make sure that our downtown is centered and thriving so that the entire city and the community and then Oregon can thrive. I'm excited about Portland. This is the city that I live in and that I love. And I want to make sure that we have the best minds sitting on that city council with some experience and ideas and breadth of information about different things, and that we can really craft something that can be great.
Well, Bob,
go ahead. Go ahead.
The point I was one of the points you made, for instance, you think about how this all how it came about. I mean, I can still remember Charlie Hale. Remember?
Yes.
When he was mayor, again, OJT, on the job training, so to speak, and so consequently, he was the one that allowed.
He was a commissioner.
He was commissioner, but he allowed folks, if you will, to come in front of his house. Remember that? On the deal, and then all of a sudden, that happened. And then all of a sudden, when Wheeler got on, he allowed i.e. more, if you will. So my point is that they didn't have the background in many ways to kind of figure out, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. When you brought that piece up about the housing piece aspect of it, making sure that these folks are paying some sort of a stipend. You just don't give them a house, and the attitude, the mindset, a lot of those folks said, well, gee whiz, I'm not going to pay these utility bills or this, that. You know what I'm saying?
And those folks are service resistors.
Yes.
There's a difference. There's service resistors who could go to rehab.
Yes.
They could go to a tiny house, but they don't want to. They prefer to stay on the street because they don't want to have the responsibility of maintaining a household. So if those are the folks that you generally see out on the street.
Exactly.
I want us to kind of course correct and also think about those folks who live in the shelters who go to work every day. How do we get them to get a job that pays them enough so that they can afford to live in their own space? And as I think about things, I think about Wapato.
Oh wow, Wapato.
Let's go there.
Okay, boy,
because if we could have, at the time of Wapato, we owned Wapato. We owned it for 10 years. We put about $100 million in it, building it and maintaining it, an empty building.
Right.
We could have put 1,000 people in Wapato that were unsheltered. And I was at every turn that I tried to make and say, let's use some of our one-time only money, and let's get some of these unsheltered folks off the street. No, we can't put unsheltered people in the
prison.
And it's not. It's and I guarantee you, it is not individual jails. They were dormers.
Yeah.
And thank God for Jordan Snitzer. Just thank God for Jordan Snitzer, because he had a vision. He had the same vision that I had, that we could actually put people in that space, and they could basically be in transitional housing. They could be in a space that they could train. It's not a low barrier housing place. They can go to work from there, get transportation. Now Wapato is called Bobby Lakes.
Yeah.
And thank God for Julia Brim Edwards. Commissioner Julia Brim Edwards. She gets a star for the day, because she stood up and she fought to give some of that $350 million that Multnomah County gets from that Metro housing bond, to be able to say, let's put that into programming into the former Wapato. And she did it, and she got it passed. And so it just takes a new day. It takes new leadership, a new administration, to see something through a different lens. And she told me that she had watched the whole thing about Wapato, and she could never understand why we were not putting any of our funds. And so what I'd like to do is get away from personality conflicts. Everybody can recognize good policy when they see it. And so what she did was amazing. She married the vision that me and Jordan had with some of the resources at Multnomah County. Now that program is a healthier program, and they're able to put more people in that program. And so for me, it's kind of bittersweet, but it's nice to see that something that you work so hard to be seen and to be heard for a long time, that it is finally getting the resources that it needs to be able to be functioning. And so I'm proud of that. So we need to do more of that. And I think we also need to do more of the workforce issue. We have to put on our workforce hat. As you know, there are about 10,000 to 12,000 baby boomers not dying, but retiring every day. So we're going to hit a labor shortage in addition to some other things. So we have to train up folks who have not historically been trained up, and that's going to go back into BIPOC communities, Black and brown communities who have not had this chance. And so while we're here, we need voices like my voice that will always be talking about workforce, always talk about pay equity issues, because the reason why people are on the street, because they can't afford housing. The reason why we have gentrification, because people couldn't afford the housing that their parents and their grandparents left them. So we wouldn't have gentrification if we have middle high paying job to give to our folks. And that's what those infrastructure jobs will do. That's what traded sector businesses will do when they come to your community. But you have to have good solid schools. We have to get this image of what Portland is, and we're trying to little bit by little bit. I see a little bit of a change, but we have to make sure that we have good leadership on that city council. We have to have open minds, people who are willing to work and collaborate with one another, not fight with each other. I think we need to work on our relationship with Multnomah County, because it shouldn't be an adversarial relationship. Over the last 5 years, the city of Portland has given Multnomah County joint office $41 million, but this year was 31. So we put in a significant investment, and nowhere near comes to that $350 million that they get from the Metro bond. But we have a say in what goes on. And I was there when we drew up the first joint office contract with Commissioner Saltzman. He had that insight to be able to do that. And this is not exactly what he envisioned in terms of the relationship. He envisioned a better collaborative relationship that would move people into permanent housing and get those folks in temporary housing before we could actually house them permanently. So I just think we need people who have a little bit of history, who have understanding that, the trades are good middle wage jobs that we need to be promoting and to helping to train folks. And we also need people who are willing to listen. We need people who can govern. We don't need activists sitting in those seats.
That's right.
We need people who know how to govern and know how the chain of government works.
But that again, that same point you were making, that marriage between the city and the county, when you were there was some sense of togetherness. But today is separate, and we got to have both because that marriage is there. It's a commitment, and so that's why, like you said, with Julia. Now Julia's sitting there. First, you were there.
Yes.
And then when you left, then all of a sudden, and then Peterson, who was just basically, again, excuse the French, OJT, and so I use the word just in a respectful way.
Right.
You have to. If you don't have the background, how are you going to pick it up?
Right.
And if you can't translate, you don't have the time to translate.
Well, she has a really tough job too.
Well, it's tough. I understand.
She has a tough job, and I think she is doing the very best that she can do with what she's working with, and all the outside influences, all the kinds of programs that she's trying to bring in. She hasn't had enough time to let them mature. You know what I mean? And I think that, I've never seen anything where people would, they're coming for her at every direction. And I think people need to relax for a second and let some of the ideas that they're doing. But she also needs to have an open mind about some other folks' ideas.
But remember, Loretta.
Yes.
When you were on, Deborah Kafori was there.
Yes, she was there.
You communicated with her.
Yes.
You guys were back and forth, right?
Right.
The other commissioners were OJ10. I put it that way to a certain degree. So that was good. But now Julia Brim is there.
Yes, and she's very capable.
So now consequently, and to a certain degree, Peterson was just a commissioner. And so Julia is a seasoned person. Actually, she's wearing two hats, so she's almost chair of the school board member.
Yes.
So she's got that piece too. So in all due respect, realistically, it should be a shift, if you will. And so when they communicate with one another, Peterson is supposed to be making the deals and bottom line stuff, but she doesn't have the background piece a lot of time in all due respect to communicate with Julia. I'm not trying to say, I'm just saying, but then it takes time to get to the point where you say, now I got it, but then you get it.
I think they'll work it out, but I think the bigger issue that I'm concerned about is that there's been this kind of push and pull with our city mayor in the chair, and that kind of thing. It's funny that you say this because me and Chair Kafora, we only disagreed on one issue, and that was Wapato. We voted together 99% of the time. And I'm going to tell you something too. You got to know who your personnel is before you did it. When I talked about those 100 amendments and resolutions that I did, when I drafted the Gladys McCoy standards, that would require, today it requires Multnomah County, when you're getting a management position, you have to interview BIPOC communities. When Chair Kafori found out that I was doing that, she went in on it. And we both co-sponsored it. So good policy is good policy, and people recognize what would be good for the greater good. We can get sidetracked with personality conflicts, but one thing about us, we never. When we were in there, we were about business, and we had questions, and we understood who the personnel was, and I worked with everyone. When I wanted to do healthcare for all, I went to Dr. Sharon Myron, and we got that passed. When I wanted to do the Promised Neighborhood, I went to Commissioner McKeel and said, I need to get that put in permanent budget. When I wanted to get my summer jobs program money into permanent budget, I went to Commissioner Jules Bailey. There was not one person that I did not work with extensively on different things, and I understood what their passion was about. And if you understand what people care about, you understand what policies you can pull, because you got to know how to count to three. And I think the city council needs me, because they don't know how to count to three. And they got to know how to count to seven.
Now.
They got to know how to count to seven.
That's right. That's right.
So you can't just, I have never just put stuff out there just to see, put some spaghetti on the wall.
Right.
Before that spaghetti was on the wall, I've already done my due diligence in talking to my stakeholders, seeing who I could get to support. And when y'all see it on the agenda 2 days before, 2 days before we actually pass it, because we've already done the work ahead of time. And that's the work that a policymaker does. We were not ahead of departments over at Multnomah County. We were policymakers like we are going to be over at the city. Policymakers. And people are making this big to-do about not being over departments. The chair was over the departments. That did not stop me from doing one thing at all. So it's exciting to be able to, we got this $9 billion budget.
Oh boy, I tell you.
And being a small business owner myself now, I am the CEO of Dream Big Communications, LLC. We do government relations consulting. My company is a DBE. And what I'd like to see more DBEs getting contract work at the city of Portland. I think we need to put some resources in to make sure that our small businesses are able to take up some of these contracts. People are getting all these millions of dollars, and I've heard it before, but it never felt so real than it does to me today after being in it and seeing who's not at the table.
But like I said, that's another issue. Understand what I'm saying? The certification process.
Certification, you got to get COVID certified.
We got to revisit that whole situation again. Bob, go on, Bob.
When I served on the board of TriMet, one of the things that we did was we made sure that the DBs and not only those, but the others were brought into the contract, and there was a 15 in the federal contracts. There was a 15% set aside, and we wanted to make sure, we wanted to make sure that was correct and was done right, and I'm happy to say that they did that. But with you, let's say I'm going forward.
Okay.
You win.
Okay.
How do you bring the other 11 people to the table to not just for their district but for all districts? Because when the idea in Multnomah County, Portland, our hope is when one boat rises, all boats rise.
All boats rise. And so that's the important thing. Whoever is that president of the council is going to be very instrumental. And as you know, the mayor doesn't have veto power, and the mayor is not a member of city council anymore, only to break a tie. So basically, the power structure has moved to the city councilors. That's where the power base is. And if you can count to 7, you can do that. But I think what's important right now, in this ranked choice voting kind of era, we have all had a chance to meet one another and build relationships with, there's over 100 some odd people. We know who the top 6 or 7 who are the folks who are really getting after it. And so right now is a time that we have spent to get to know each other. And I think we know what each other's, strengths and weaknesses are. And in order for this to work, everybody's going to have to get a little of something. In the past, the mayor has just been the sole owner of the budget.
He divots out what he
Yes. And then you had to go to your departments because he could take the departments at any time. And so I think in order for this to work, because the charter reform, it required people from communities, all communities, to come into a new front door. That new front door is being a part of city council, and that was the purpose of putting those district offices out in
The district.
out in the districts like they do for Congress. You have your district offices so that people who live out in East Portland, I would be representing East Portland, and those folks live between 82nd and 162nd. They live to the north of Marine Drive all the way out to Southeast Clatsop. Everybody in between. It takes, if you're on public transportation, almost a half day for you to come down to City Hall and you're going to testify and to get back on the other side and get back to where you have to take off nearly a day to do that. But I think bringing City Hall to the people is so important. And the reason why they didn't equip our district offices, because they said they couldn't find anything appropriate in my district, that there was no adequate office space. And I said, have you heard of the Nick Fish building on 107th and Halsey, which was just recently built, and they're a multi-use building. So how about that? And so it's just look, we're the poorest district, we're the most diverse district, and we're the most expansive district. So we don't have a lot of folks who actually vote in our district, and that's the reason why there were two districts who had low voter turnout, low voter participation, and they got the 4-year terms.
That's it too, yeah.
And those other two districts, which is District 4 and 3, who have high voter participation, they got 2 terms because they want to stagger. So they have to rerun in 2 more years.
Right.
The folks who are in Districts 1 and 2, and 1 and 2 are really good because 1 and 2, it's old inner northeast Portland and St. John's, and then the numbers. And so it would be a great honor for me to represent the numbers where people are the most vulnerable. We don't have a lot of sidewalks in some of our spaces, and it was the old unincorporated space before it became Portland. And being able to fight for those transportation projects like the Division Street project that's in the works right now that should be done in 7 years. We need to have people who can hold the city's feet to the fire to make sure that they're completing those projects on time, under budget, and doing what the community said they wanted. So in understanding the federal flow of money, who understands also the state flow of money, I've had a chance, since I've been gone, my company, we do advocacy work and we lobby down in Salem, and so I got a chance to really understand the system, and so now I'm really a triple threat.
Awesome.
So something personal, you say the transportation in your area. One of the things that I was looking at when I was on the board is that, a lot of the people over in your area I call it taxation without representation, because they had no means of transit, especially when you get up into the high numbers and try to go across to, let's say,
you're talking about north-south.
Yeah, north-south going to Clackamas Center. You have to have a car.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to, like you say, you have to take 2-3 hours out of your day, 4 hours sometimes, just for transportation.
Exactly.
In that area. So that's one of the things I hope you'll look at, just for those people that I couldn't get it across.
Right.
And during my time.
And I'll be fighting to have more buses that are electric buses, because we have the highest number of respiratory diseases out in East Portland because of the 205.
Right.
And we need to make sure that folks can have clean energy transportation opportunities. And you got to go where the problem is the worst and fix that first. And that is my philosophy. You got to go.
That's key.
When you go into the belly of the beast, you got to deal with it.
That's right.
And you got to have folks who are not afraid to speak up, who understand, who have a track record, and who have some sense of where the money flow is, where the debt service is, when does it drop off, how you can maneuver. And I think it's going to be a learning process. But I think one of the first things that people will probably want to do, because this city council, all of them are running for office.
Yeah, that's right.
They're all running for mayor.
Yeah.
And one person is running for his seat, and that's Dan Ryan. But they failed to put money in the budget for the 12 city council people. And that is a travesty. That is such a travesty. It was by law. By
I
law.
thought they was going to do that.
They have not done that.
See,
They've only given us one staff.
I know that.
How can you if you're supposed to have 2 offices, how can you only have one staff?
I got an idea for you, but we won't talk it right now.
No, we won't talk about that right now. But
I want to talk to you.
But
We gotta
those
talk.
are the things
Yeah,
that
you're right.
the candidates have been talking about. They want to make sure that they're able to do the work.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with managing
I know.
managing those bureaus. It has everything to do with policy.
Well, that's why we formatted what we're doing here now.
Yes.
While we're doing what we're doing. That's why you're here. It's not about it's
Educating-
not
educating
Right, right.
You got,
the
hey,
public.
because
Yes.
as I've seen it, that's one of the reasons I told Bob. I said we got to jump in this thing, and we just can't.
Yes.
First of all, we can't interview that many folks. Got me?
Right,
to a certain
right.
degree, and we've got background that we know what the issues are. Got
Yes,
me? And we're
yes.
looking at these candidates. We're looking at the list. We're discussing it constantly, saying, "Gee, what's going on?" So we came up with this format.
We got
So I
some
wanna
great
thank you
people
very
who
much.
are running who have a great drive to do the right thing. But I think we also need people who have experience to mix in with those new voices to be able to guide.
Well, that's why you're being hired. I mean, you understand what I mean?
Well,
Indirectly,
I surely
a person
want
is
to be hired.
Yeah, certainly, yeah,
Yes.
as a commissioner.
Yes.
Because you represent the community. You represent the public. You got me?
Right.
They're paying for the deal. And they
Yes.
want outcome. That's why
Yes.
we're doing it. That's the process.
Right.
Got me? So anyway, on that note, what we're going to do, we may call you back if you don't mind, maybe before the ballot goes out, if you don't mind, so you can kind of get.
If I'm not out there knocking on doors and
That's what I
making
know.
sure people, what I'm trying to do is explain to folks about this ranked choice voting. It's
Yes.
going to be very foreign to them. They're going to
Yes.
have
Oh, they-
6
yeah,
opportunities,
yeah.
and they can
No,
only
they're
pick
gonna
the
have
top
15,
3.
They're going to have 15, 20 people on this ballot for them. And then they got to pick out 6, and then they got
And they got to
rank
do the
6.
research on the 6.
Yeah, then they
they're
got
going
to
to have to
rank
do the
6.
research because they're unknowns.
Yeah.
Well, in all due respect, I have talked to the city. The city's going to be on. We're going to have them
Oh,
on.
nice,
Yeah,
nice,
they're
nice,
going to be
nice.
on to go over the whole issue of ranked choice voting. In fact, the next show is going to probably be doing that.
Nice.
So we're going to be doing that piece. I
Good
mean,
work.
very in layman's standpoint. Got me?
Yes.
Very layman's standpoint. Because senior citizens, they've not had any access whatsoever to those folks. And they're a dedicated group of folks.
They are, and my aunts, who some of them are in their 80s, 70s, they're like, I'm just filling out one.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I'm serious.
I'm just gonna fill out one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
We got to get.
we have to educate folks because we're hiring 3.
Okay. Right.
And if you really want to get the best out of this, you got to at least pick 3. But they give us 6. They give us 6
Yeah.
opportunities, but they're only going to pick 3.
That's right. That's
So
right.
pick your top 3.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And we're at a point now, especially in this city, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want these situations where outside entities buy us the seat. That's the other problem
Well,
we have. But don't get me wrong.
There are going to be independent
Like I
expenditures.
said, we understand that. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That's why we're approaching it in this particular form.
Yes.
And I think it's very important because, anyway, let's put it this way. Let's go on and cut it off at this point. We got a
Yes.
person who's going to be running for mayor. We're going to have him on,
Good,
and he's
good.
out there doing the same. He was homeless at one point in time, whatever. Very articulate kind of a guy. We're going to kind of give him about 15 minutes or so.
Perfect.
But we want you to come
Perfect.
back, please. So
Thank
stay
you.
available. So Bob,
Yeah.
I really
thank you very
appreciate
much.
y'all.
Okay, good. No
Really
problem.
appreciate you.
Okay, good. So what we'll do is that we'll just, Bob, why don't we go get this other guy?
I will.
You can do one or two things. Come back in, we get together with Michael and talk a little bit more, and let this lady get back to family. Okay?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you
I
very
appreciate
much.
you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Okay, buddy. We'll be
Thank
talking.
you.
Okay, good. And get this piece out.
Okay.
It'll be on
Good
YouTube.
piece.
We got a lot of links too, by the way.
Got a lot of
We
links.
got about 8 or 9 different links that we carry now.
Okay,
It goes out
perfect.
to people, and I'll make
Perfect.
sure that I identify those links that goes in your area.
Okay, perfect.
Cool?
Perfect.
Okay?
Perfect.
Okay, good.
Thank you
Sounds
so
good.
much. I appreciate you.
Okay, Loretta, take care. Tell that son of yours I said hi.
I will.
Tell him Uncle Bruce said hi.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, you got a sign?
Yeah, where's that bicycle of yours?
I'll go get it.
Real quick, lad. Come on. Okay, good. I'll get Bob over here real quick.
You want me?
Yeah, come on, Bob. Come on, sit down. We'll have Michael. We're still taping right now.
Oh,
yeah, we're still
okay.
taping. So that's why I want. But this is community television.
Yeah.
And as you know,
Musical chairs.
Yeah, we're going to be basically. We got about 18, 15 minutes. We're going to interview one of the candidates running for mayor. And I looked down the list and kind of looking for someone that had experiences, if you will, with some of the issues, if you will. And it just so happened this person that we're going to get ready to interview has been homeless.
Right.
And he's dealt with social issues. He's run different kinds of from Alaska or Canada or whatever. But I've interviewed him on several different occasions, and he's very articulate along that line. And so the rest of the folks have not been there.
Yeah, opportunity for our viewing audience to see that everyone that has been homeless can improve.
That's right.
They were, then they became homeless. Now they're back to work.
That's right.
You know, so this is the thing that I'm glad that we're trying to do is not only educate, but to give people with experience and opportunity to express themselves.
Callahan, bring it on over here, Callahan. Bring it over here. And then here's a mayoral candidate right up front with. Look at his transportation. Put that deal there. Vote Mayor Michael O'Callahan. O'Callahan. There he is, right there.
Yeah, but O'Callahan's a long neck.
I heard that. But I noticed. But Michael has been he's really been out there, and in fact he's got this kind of experience, if you will, that those individuals who are running for mayor doesn't have. He's been actually into the issues aspect of it, and he's challenged, if you will, some of the laws and this, that, and the other, and I mean very eloquently, if you will. And I met him some time years ago, and he's been consistent. He's been right up front with it. He's a very community-oriented kind of a person, and sensitive about all of the issues that are sounding, especially people of needs, if you will. And sometimes you don't get that. And this is what I found that when I met him, and we've interviewed ever since he's been here, so to speak.
Right.
And so now, again, this is another experience, if you will, that the voting public needs to know, because that's what he represents.
Right.
And then the same thing with those who are running for mayorship aspect of it. We are in need. He has the background on some of the issues that folks are talking about, and then if anybody has an idea of what the solution may be, Michael has, because he's been involved in the solution situation on many of these subject matters that we're talking about. So we want to welcome you aboard, Michael. And,
Thank you.
And thanks for filing to run.
All right.
See,
Hey.
because you're the only one that I saw on the list that had the background.
Yeah. Okay.
See, because he was from Alaska? Or where was
Well, I lived up there. I'm born and raised down here, but lived up there 35 years.
Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden decided to come back to Portland, Oregon, and he was doing all kinds of social work, creating things, if you will, and getting people fed and all that other good stuff. I mean, it was sweet. And then he came here, and then he got involved. He got involved with a lot of the deals and kind of challenged, if you will, some of the issues and policies of homelessness.
There you go.
Yeah, he was doing it himself. I mean, and when he told me this story about, excuse me, close that door for us. But when he told me this story about getting a piece of property.
Oh yeah, there you go.
he was able to get him a piece of real estate, Bob, and looked through the books and found a piece of property and went through the processes, and he owned it. It's kind of like under the highway, under the freeway.
Yeah.
And then built him a place.
Right.
Got him some boards and this, that, and the other. Built him a home. I mean, that was a very interesting piece. You know what I'm saying? But my point is that he didn't necessarily have to do this, but he was going through the proceeds, if you will, the processes as to what you can do.
Yep.
The availability was there.
Right.
People didn't know what that was all about, and as a result of that, some folks started looking at his process.
Because there's a lot of, and people don't know this, but like when they built 205, there's some land on the sides of 205, not that large.
That's what he did.
But they
Right.
you know, you can
Right.
go to the county or to the
Right.
city and try and purchase that land.
So you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
See,
That's what he did. See,
Well, I'm
you're-
still trying to do it.
See,
Still
and,
trying
but
to
my
do
friend,
it.
he's still there in the mix.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he's having to deal with those kinds of folks
Mm-hmm.
every day. You know, the people on the streets and this, that, and the other. Because he's a caring kind of a guy too. You know, he's very caring from the standpoint of understanding what the needs are.
Right.
So I've said enough. We got about 15 minutes, so we're going to go on. We want you to talk.
Okay, you want my
Yeah,
spiel?
just give me your spiel.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
Give
Talk
me-
to
okay,
us.
talk, okay. I'll talk to you.
Okay,
Okay.
go on.
Okay, I got a plan. I got a bunch of ideas, okay, and I got an internet site, mayormikeoc.com. You know, go on there and you can look, and I have my experiences on there.
Right.
I list them under brags, okay?
Okay,
Because
okay.
you're not supposed to brag,
Okay,
but then
all
when
right.
you're a politician, you're
Okay,
supposed to brag, okay?
okay.
I got 14 things on there. You know, check them out.
Okay.
You know, and
And that's
see-
your website.
that's my website.
That's your website. And you got a phone number. You got a phone number too. They want to access that because some people sometimes.
Oh, hey, that's fine. Yeah, sure. Area code 503-960-3787.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
right.
Good.
But check out the website and you can see now some of my ideas are kind of revolutionary. You know that here's my first revolutionary idea, okay, is that everybody knows that how you get elected is you go out and you beg for money and you get a bunch of money, you go out and you buy a bunch of ads and you get elected, right? Whoever spends the most money. 600,000 was what one mayoral candidate spent in the last election. Okay, I've done all these things without money, okay, and so I do things without money. So here's my pitch, okay, to all the people out there, and I can't do this without you, okay? Here's the deal. You look up my internet site and you look at my things I've done and the things I propose, and you'll see that I'm the best candidate for mayor in this city.
Okay.
And when you see that, where I'm doing a thing called Fat Finger Forward a Friend.
Okay.
So what you do is you click on my internet site and you forward it to a friend, telling them what you think about it and asking them to forward it to a friend. Okay?
Each one send one.
That's right. Or send 2 or send 20.
There
Okay,
you
you got a
go.
lot of friends. Okay, okay. I don't need money. I need friends. Okay, and I can't do this myself at all.
right,
And
that's
all the stuff I've done, giving away 2.5 million pounds of salmon, you know, doing that are done, you know, by people helping. You know, that's what gets it done. Okay, and I want to house people. I got 6 housing ideas. Okay, and like you mentioned earlier, I helped start Right to Dream. Okay, so I'm familiar with how the unhoused can work together cooperatively in a community. Okay, so my proposal that gets the most traction that is to let people rent out their garages. Okay, this is a housing proposal. It's not related to unhoused. Okay, this is related to my friends that are spending $1,200 for efficiency apartment, and if they can rent a garage for $300, then they got a little bit of money. Okay, and
Save and buy. They can save and buy.
yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah. You know, and you know, geez, man, it's tough for people out there. You know, and we need to this is my deal on it. We need to rethink housing. Okay, and there's all this vacant office space. We can put alternative housing in there. Okay, like you mentioned on my land that I haul my water. I don't have running water. I don't have electricity, you know, and I'm okay. I have heat. I use propane heat, you know, but if you got a great big building, you don't need to worry about heat or ventilation or anything like that. But they have a bunch of codes that stop it from happening unless you want to build traditional housing. Okay, traditional housing is like what was built here in the 20s and 30s. Right, okay, you had 6 kids, 8 kids, 10 kids, you know, need a big place, you know, now everybody's single, maybe coupled up, so I live in an 8-foot by 8-foot, okay, a little bit bigger than that, okay, it's fine with me. I got all my stuff, got a loft up there, got windows, I super insulated, you know.
That you built.
Yeah, I built it myself. I can do this kind of stuff. I build alternative housing. Okay, I have built a number of units. I lived in the lower unit down there in a 4-foot by 4-foot by 8-foot long, you know, with a little overhang. I lived in that for probably 6 years. That's fine. You know, I like being in a place where I can stand up and I can turn the heat on, but I didn't need to. You know, so you know, we look at it alternatively, and we need to pump up downtown. I've been downtown a few times here recently, and you know, nothing going on, all these vacant buildings and all that. You know, and here's my deal. I want to give a 20% discount to students, and a 20% discount to anybody that lives within a mile of the river. Because I want people to live downtown that work downtown. Okay, and I want it to be inexpensive. You know, but you got to get together and figure out the dynamics of it and all that. You know, I mean, you got to go through the political process. And I'm one of 12, right? One of 13, right? You know, so you know, you can only do so much. Okay. Now, here's another thing I want to advance. I call it Portland people polling.
Portland people polling.
Yeah, you know, voting kind of works. I mean, we elect a personality, and that's okay, but then they're beholden to money, and they're beholden to political party, and they're beholden to, okay? I want us all to solve some problems, okay? So you register through email or on a phone, you know, say you live in Portland, you know, and issues are vented, and then they're e-signatures. Once they get enough e-signatures, they go up for polling. Okay, and when it's polled, you can vote 1 yes, 2 no, and 3, I want to be involved with implementing this. So if it passes by a 65-35,
Right.
then everybody who pushed the third button is notified, hey, there's going to be a function in this place this time. So they all come together, and you just say, you figure it out. Okay, next issue. Okay, so the issue, it won't be too hard to push it through the bureaucracy because most of the people already want to do it. Okay, so it gives people a platform for advocating to their government because we don't have that now. You just got to raise one issue at a time with a bunch of people, and then you got another issue over here you got to raise. I want to win the war. Okay, I'm tired of winning battles. I want to win the war, and I want everybody to participate. Okay, and then let me give you my other one. This is kind of fun. Okay, I call it consolidated sin. Okay, whatever drug you want, we'll go in Montgomery Ward building or buy a great big building like that, right? Okay, whatever drug you want is available there on a per dose basis. We got a chemist, you know, we got a pharmacist. We got a doctor, we got shoot-up rooms, we got needles, we got Narcan, we got AA, we got NA, we have social service agencies, we have prostitution there too. Okay, this is my take, is that if we were to do this, the shootings and the overdoses in our community could drop by half. Okay, nobody's going to die of an overdose in our facility. Okay, now, and my deal, and I've got friends on the street too, you know, people don't intend to die of an overdose. Okay, they got either a bad drug or they got too much. Okay, and so we are being neglectful as a community, you know, that these people are dying on the street. You know, and that if they want to get off the junk, there's no real way for them to do that. And we would have that, and we'd have former junkies there, you know, and, you know, and they attract people with sugar and honey, you know, don't attract them with a club. You know, the club doesn't work. I mean, you know, look, ever since we've been kids, all this anti-narcotics thing, you know, and all the police busting people and all that, and all the people going to jail, did it solve it? No. You're never going to solve it because people want to get high. You know, yeah. So this doesn't solve the problem, but it puts it out of the community. It's where we can deal with it, you know, in a respectful way, because all these people are human beings. You know, and by me, people get addicted because they have no hope.
That's it. That's the reason. That's one of the major reasons.
It is. It is. Yeah, and here's a study. I love this study, okay? They took a cylinder and filled it with enough water and so the rat couldn't get out, and put the rat in there. Clocked how long until the rat gave up. 16 hours. How long? And then they took them all out. They didn't let them drown. Then they took some of them out and they dried them off and they put them back in there. You know how long they lasted? 50 hours. 5 times as long. Because they had hope. Okay. Big deal. Big deal. Our culture doesn't give that. You know, it gives you the club. You do this or yeah. So, there's a bunch of ideas out there, and they're good ideas. They're valid ideas, and we can make a difference in our community. And we don't have to build, 3,000 houses that cost you or apartments cost you $300,000 a piece. We let people rent out their garages. Bingo, we can have 5,000 units. And they got to provide access to electricity, water, sewer, garbage. They have to provide a smoke detector, and they have to provide a fire extinguisher. But it's better living in a garage than it is out in the street. And you can't make a mess because you got a landlord. Right? No, you can't make a mess, man. You gotta leave. And I understand because my mom had apartments and my sister has apartments, and kicking somebody out's hard. Okay, but if we give you a year's permit, and you're a landlord and you rent out and they won't leave, man, we'll pull your permit and they will leave. Okay, because we don't want, it's real difficult being a landlord when somebody moves in and makes a mess out of your place. It's not right, but there are people that do that. And so we want to make sure the landlord's protected too.
What about ideas about public safety?
Public safety? Yeah. Hey, I ride a bicycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's your bike right there.
That's right. There you go.
That's transportation right there. Okay.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm very concerned about public safety. Okay. And I haven't had a car for a long time. I rented one a little while ago and drove one. It was just an amazing experience. Okay. Oh, hey, this thing is huge. You can do so much damage with it. And you have no idea. You're going down 60 miles an hour, somebody 60 miles an hour over here. It's all right, except for every once in a while. Yeah, so, I think I went on a thing. They have this group, Safe Walk, I think is what it was, and they had a thing for the candidates, and they gave us a paper with all kinds of things on it to analyze intersections for safety. Is there a crosswalk? Is there signage? Are there obstacles? What's a mile-an-hour speed limit? Is that the speed limit the cars are going? Is it safe? And basically, it's not safe if there's a car.
Well, we got 1 minute.
About 1 minute.
Okay.
Well, okay, good. Well, look, one of the reasons I wanted Mike to come on, because when you think about the structure we're having, that particular that person sitting in that seat will have that time to talk about things like that.
New ideas.
You know what I'm saying? And then basically, and he can throw that on the table for especially some of those seats, if you will, regardless of distance. Say, look, check this out. What do you think? Or what do you think? And so that's one of the reasons why we have Michael here today. Very important because he's lived the situation and he's ahead of the game, if you will, and we need to start somewhere. Right. So, Mike, this has been just great.
Thank you.
We're going to have you back on. No,
okay.
No, we'll just have you back on. Okay. So, with that piece, why don't I say we'll get back to you and thank you very, very much, Michael.
Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you too. Thank you for caring. Yeah, and that's the important part.
There you go. That's right.
Okay. So thank you very much, my friend, and we'll do this again. Just sit down right there.
Okay.
And we'll close. We'll just close
right
now. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week, folks. Have a good one.